Now on the Locked On Celtics podcast, Jayson Tatum's return is suddenly up in the air, and the Celtics have a bad day at the office.
Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them every Monday through Friday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. You can get bonus episodes like one after the Friday game against the Sacramento Kings. Hopefully it's better than the one today about the Atlanta Hawks, which we'll get to a little bit later on. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you're new to the show, I am John Karalis, beat writer covering the Celtics for Sports Illustrated's Celtics on SI page. And I've been doing a version of this job for 20 years, this podcast for 10 years, and I've written a couple of books about the team. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, $5, you bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. I'll get to the loss to the Atlanta Hawks second and third segments. It's a little bit different than your normal post game, but the second segment will be the Hawks loss. The just bad day at the office. Great quote from Joe Mazzulla. The revenge game for the Hawks. The individual performances, a tough shooting night, Jaylen Brown, Amari Williams, not having, just kind of like an up and down, which is normal, but all of that stuff is coming up in the second and third segments. But we're going to start with the Chris Haynes report, which came out right around 11:30 or so on NBA TV, where he reported that Jayson Tatum's return is now up in the air, that he is kind of reevaluating his situation, all of that stuff. It comes on the heels of what we talked about in yesterday's podcast, Tom and I, about that pivot podcast that he did, where he was talking about a little hesitancy about, what does it look like when I come back, where there'll be 50 or 60 games in, and how do I fit and all of that stuff. And he was saying in that podcast, I have been kind of contemplating whether or not I should come back. I'm paraphrasing there a little bit. And so now Chris Haynes comes out and reports what he reports. And it's just an interesting kind of development here, one that I didn't expect. So let me just say this up front, first and foremost, and absolutely to be clear, Jayson Tatum is not ready to come back for whatever reason. He shouldn't come back. That you have to be ready to play. You have to want to play, all of that stuff. So number one, obviously, I hope this is obvious to everybody. You have to be cleared physically by all the medical professionals, trainers, everybody. Once that happens, he has to clear mental hurdles. That's something I've said from the beginning. If he's not ready mentally, then fine. You can take whatever time you need to become ready mentally. And if that means not playing the season, so be it. I have been, I think, one of the first people to say I believe Jayson Tatum is playing this season. I've always said March is when I think he's going to come back. Now I've revised that to think maybe February because of just the progress that he's made. But I've always thought he was going to come back. And he said it from the beginning. He went on a media tour after it was back in September. So he's a few months removed from the surgery. So what's that? I think with the surgery in May. So June, July, August, September, 4 months. So halfway through his rehab. And he said, I'm not working out 6 days a week for nothing. And I still think that's true. I still think that if he's ready, that he'll come back. And I think he's kind of playing it cautious here with making sure that he's not just coming in and just being like, hey, I'm back and it's my team and everybody has to do what I say and revolve everything around me. Because this whole team, they've worked really, really hard to get to this point. This loss notwithstanding, this whole team has worked very hard. They have adapted a style of play. They play differently. They defend differently. They do a lot of things differently. And I can appreciate Tatum saying, like, I don't know if I want to come in here and distract, detract from all of this and take away from what these guys are doing. If that's the thing, I can appreciate that mindset. That's being a good teammate. He's looking at not just Jaylen Brown, but Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jordan Walsh, Amari Williams, Luka Garza, name them all. Everybody has worked really, really hard. And Jayson will have to come in and like fit that dynamic. He will have to run this defensive system, this offensive system, maybe not what he's used to. And I can understand maybe him saying, also, this is not our system. This is not when I'm playing and starting and being Jayson Tatum next season, we're not going to be doing this. We're going to be doing a lot of the stuff that we used to do. Maybe some of this, but this is not how we're going to defend. This is not how we're going to play our offense. We're going to do other things. So maybe he just doesn't want to be part of that. I don't know. This is all speculation on my part. If he is holding back, not sure, or however you want to phrase it, don't get caught up in the phrasing. However you want to phrase it, if he's hesitating because he doesn't want to be disruptive to the team, while he is fully healthy and mentally capable, not worried about his body, like if he's passed all the other checks and would otherwise normally play, then I would like to see him play, because that's something, all the other stuff you can work through. You can figure out the dynamic with Jaylen and Derek and Peyton and all of these guys. You can figure that stuff out. And if there's a little bump in the road, there's a bump in the road. It's not that big of a deal. It's worth coming back and figuring this out. It's worth adding him to the mix and to see the chemistry. What does the chemistry look like? What does have to adjust? This is great for learning all that stuff. But I do understand if the concern is, I don't want to come in and do that and take away from what this team is doing. So it is up to Jayson. If that's how he wants to approach it, if he says, I don't want to be disruptive, I don't want to, whatever he is saying, but I don't want to twist whatever he is saying about that. If he is up in the air, if he's not sure and he wants to say, you know what, I'm not going to come back, then so be it. It doesn't really, that doesn't hurt anything necessarily. I would like to see him come back and knock off the rust. I would like to see him come back and do all the things that I've said all along since the injury happened. I'd like to see him come back and do all of the things that would normally be happening or would otherwise be happening at the beginning of next season. You have an opportunity to play a month of basketball and get back to understanding the speed, understanding the soreness, understanding the differences. The league changes from year to year. Everything changes. There are rules that are go out there and experience it. Like all of that stuff is meaningful. So I think it's beneficial. And in my personal opinion, I would love to see him get out there and do it. So it's just interesting that I did not expect this element. And I think it's partly a testament to how much these guys, the current team, has done and how much they've achieved. I think if the Celtics were a 6th seed, 7th seed, and maybe down at the expectations for before the season that a lot of people had, I don't think Tatum would be thinking this, because he'd be like, well, the team is not that great. It's not performing all that well. I'm just going to come back and it doesn't matter what I do. The team is this is a 2nd seed, and they're probably like everybody in that locker room, I guarantee you, is like, hey man, we can make a run. We're not throwing anything away. We can make a run. And on the one hand, you say, well, if Tatum can come back and be Tatum, then at some point, then you make a run. You're like, oh my God, You traded for Jayson Tatum in the middle of the season. Like, that's how you're going to look at it. And that seems like an obvious thing to do. But if Tatum thinks he's taking away from the team and the work that they've done, then, I disagree. But I think it's a fair way to think about it. It's a fair way to look at it. It's just going to be interesting to see what decision he makes. Again, I'm just going to emphasize before I move on. Whatever decision he makes is his decision, and it's not the wrong one. If he wants to come back and play, that's a good one. If he wants to sit out the rest of the season, that's a good decision too. Even though I disagree with elements of it, that's a perfectly fine decision, and there's no criticism of Jayson Tatum whichever way he decides. As long as he's physically ready to play and physically cleared, and as long as he's mentally capable of handling, like, oh my God, I'm playing off of I'm coming back from injury and all of that stuff. If all that stuff is cleared, then whatever you want to do, buddy, like, play, don't play, that's up to you. I know what I'd like to see. And I'll just leave it at that. It's just an interesting dynamic that I had to lead with because it's the most interesting thing, especially after the way the Celtics played in this game against the Hawks. It was blah. How's that for a tease? A bad day at the office is next. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. It is tax season. It's turning the corner. February is right around the corner. It is time to do your taxes, and it's easier than ever right now with TurboTax. You just hand your stuff off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can get your taxes done for you by a local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. I have my own business. I am going to be like, I'm one of those people who needs to go through self-employment forms and all these crazy things. You could just do that. If you have that, you can just give that to a TurboTax expert. If you just have regular old W-2s, you can give that to a TurboTax expert as well. They'll do all of the work for you. They'll get you every deduction. You just upload your documents, go about your day, run your errands, open up the TurboTax app, and you'll see the progress and get your updates. So it's a huge time saver and gives you peace of mind. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate. Get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local, TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Thank you for being an everydayer. Now, as the trade deadline is right around the corner, basically a week away, we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to the group chat on Discord for Locked On Celtics fans. For Celtics fans, you get national chats, local chats, and ad-free versions of the show. Sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th. You can use the code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap on the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com for more. Okay, the Boston Celtics lost to the Atlanta Hawks 117-106. Immediately right out of the bat, it was, as Joe calls it, bad day at the office. Just nothing you can say. It just didn't look great. They looked sloppy. They didn't have it. And it's weird to say that they like this. This is something that I guess I didn't expect, but I should have expected. Before the game, I was actually having a conversation with a member of the Celtics staff, and because he had overheard me say that the Hawks suck, and he was like, no, the Hawks do not suck. And we had a big conversation of like, I know what should happen, and you should go out there and beat them. And he was like, yeah, we should go out there and beat them if we do this and that, but they are a good team. Every team in the NBA is a good team. They have good players. And it was an interesting kind of conversation back and forth. And it turns out to be a conversation that mattered when you look at the game, because they didn't come out and play great. They came out lackluster. They knew that the Hawks were going to come in for revenge. They were embarrassed at home. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker said, Quinn Snyder at shoot-around brought up that loss, and it wasn't that we lost, it was how we lost. And, it was a little motivation. You get these guys kind of worked up, and they came in and played hard. They played a great basketball game, and the Celtics played a crappy basketball game. And that's kind of where the analysis can stop in a lot of ways, because what do you do? If you've played organized basketball, you've probably had one of those games where it's hard to figure out, but no one on the team has it. And you don't feel it going into the game, but you feel it like in warmups. You feel it at some point. Somehow everybody's like, "Oh God, we stink right now." It happens. But you want the Celtics to fight through that stuff. That's where the best of the best, you fight through that and you find ways to win. Every good team has stinkers. And even though I just said the best of the best find ways to win, I know like the Oklahoma City Thunder have bad losses, right? They had bad losses last year. The Celtics had bad losses in 2024. The Warriors had bad losses. The 86 Celtics had bad losses. Every championship team has bad losses. So this goes under the definite bad loss column. They fell behind by 21 in the first quarter. They made like little runs, like Luka Garza was really good. Baylor Shireman, interesting, like Baylor Shireman game, because he came in like he came in like Ultimate Warrior running in old school WWF. Like he came in just charging in. He was started firing shots, and we were like, "Whoa, dude, relax." I think he turned down the volume on Baylor Shireman, who went from like a 12 down to a 9. And once he played under a little bit more control, he actually had a real positive impact on that third quarter, and the Celtics got it back down to 9. They were down by as much as 23. They got it back down to 9. It just never really felt like it was always a feeling of, oh, okay, they've given themselves a chance. They have an opportunity. It never felt like they were making the run. They were giving themselves a chance, which is great, but they were never really like taking control. And that's where the Hawks just found ways to make a shot, right? Hit a three, get a steal. So many turnovers for the Celtics. Dyson Daniels was incredible in this game, made a huge difference. He didn't play in that last game in Atlanta. And the one thing that I did bring up in that game in Atlanta a couple weeks ago was that they were coming back. That was their first game off a long road trip. And that was a tough one. That was a tough situation. Missing players, didn't have Dyson Daniels. And it's not like one player is going to make this incredible turnaround like we saw in this game. But Daniels, with his energy, was just huge. He had 5 steals, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 steals, a block, just 1 turnover, just 2 fouls. Incredible. 7 of 11 shooting, hit a 3-pointer. That was a big difference. Like Dyson Daniels changed this game for the Hawks. He's such a great defender, man. He's great. Anyway, that tenacity, that kind of defensive effort, combine it with what the Celtics were doing, just the turnovers. Some of the turnovers were just bad. There's one, I feel bad for Luka Garza. Every time I've talked about turnovers, I use this one where he had a dribble handoff. I forget who even handed it to. It was supposed to be like a dribble handoff for a Celtics, and he just handed it like a waiter dropping off a drink. Just, here you go, and just gave up a run out. It miscommunication, poor execution, all of that stuff. And the turnovers were Some of it was the Hawks defense. Some of it was the Celtics just flat out sucking. And it turned into, I think it was, I'll look it up real quick here. I think it was 23 points off of, 23 points off of 16 turnovers. So the 16 turnovers is not great. It's a few more. They average around 12. It's a few more than that, but it's not so outrageous that it's not like a 25 turnover game. But the fact that they were so damaging, that's the tough part. Like almost every turnover, 16 turnovers turning into 23 points, almost all of those turnovers were converted into something positive for the Hawks. And I didn't even go back and look at those turnovers yet. I'm sure all of the live ball turnovers were cashed in. Maybe there's one that they didn't convert, but with the 23, because the turnovers equal the illegal screens, right? Those types of turnovers, the ball flying out of bounds. So of 16 turnovers, there were probably a few that weren't live ball opportunities. I'm sure all of the live ball opportunities were cashed in somehow. And that's where the Celtics, who normally protect the ball well, it just shows how sloppy it was. The shooting, the 3-point shooting, what they shot and also what they allowed, problematic. We'll get into that and then the individual performances when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between all the subscriptions that you've forgotten about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has the time to track every transaction and hunt down all of those hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in. Personal finance app that helps you take control, finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, it monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks all of the subscriptions and lets you cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. So no more hunting down customer service numbers. This is a big one for me because I'm always constantly subscribing to other papers that teams that the Celtics are playing. And I have to subscribe and cancel subscribe. I can't have subscriptions to every, 29 other teams. So it will track everything like that for you. You can set budgets, goals, get personalized insights, receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances, consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard so you get a real clear view of your financial picture. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Hey, go check out Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night. Game Night is 7 days a week, covering every game in the association. Locked On NBA in the afternoons covers all the big stories. I'm sure the Jayson Tatum story will be one that they discuss in detail. So go check out a different view, a different take on that stuff. But go check it out. And also, look, we've got Locked On Patriots. We've got Locked On Seahawks. Get ready for the Super Bowl. Locked On NFL. If you want to do that, we've got everything covered. So it's there if you want to check it out. Shooting was awful. The Celtics only made 9 3-pointers. They got doubled up. Whenever you get doubled up shooting threes, that's a problem in both on both ends. Because the Celtics shot 9 of 34, 26.5%. Their 5th worst shooting performance this season. They've lost all 5 of those games. They're 2-7 when they shoot below 30%. So that's if the Celtics aren't hitting those shots, then obviously they're in big trouble. The Hawks 18 of 42, they shot 43%. Celtics defense, I've said it before a million times this season. The defense is geared towards protecting the paint and then closing out in the corners, making them swing up top, and giving up above the break 3-pointers. Ideally for the Celtics, they will be giving less than great shooters, subpar shooters, above the break 3-pointers. That's the shot they want people to take. Actually, they probably would love it if it was a long 2, a step inside the 3-point line. But regardless, they're gonna live with bad shooter, subpar shooter taking above the break 3-pointer. The problem is their emphasis with protecting the rim is great, but it tends to lead to overhelping. That guys, the 2 guys make the decision to go towards the ball, and it gives up shots in the corner. It gives up 3-pointers that they didn't want to live with, that they aren't comfortable living with. So Jaylen even summed it up after the game. So there are teams that don't shoot well that get hot against us. And that's been a problem. And you can't let these guys, there are good shooters here, but also some not so great shooters that are getting hot against the Celtics. So 18 of 42 from 3, that's a killer. Jaylen Brown did not play well. He said it after the game, did not play well. Celtics lost by 11. He was a minus 24. He did have 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, but he shot 9 of 20. He was 0 of 5 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line. It was, I think in that third quarter, when the Celtics were making their run, I kind of think that Jaylen coming back kind of ended that run a little bit. It's so weird because it's usually the opposite. It's usually Jaylen comes back to save the Celtics from blowing a lead. Jaylen just it didn't have it. He didn't look right. Guys just looked sluggish. He was definitely looking sluggish. And like I said before, this happens. That was a January 28th game. They are getting close to the All-Star break. I don't think a lot of these guys are thrilled about going to work sometimes. Like it's tough to, your body's not right. You're kind of dealing with all the same things we're dealing with in the snow. You're tired. You've been on this long road trip. You're just kind of worn out. A break is coming. I get it. It's tough to get up for these games. You probably thought that the Hawks would come in and be the same Hawks you throttled, a week and a half ago. But it didn't work out that way. And Jaylen certainly kind of looked like he fell into that trap. There's also like an illness going around that it's, I think, affecting Celtics centers exclusively. Luka Garza missed the last game. He played in this one. Neemias Queta did not play in this one. And I'm not going to say that Neemias Queta would have changed this entire game. It's tough for one guy to come in and impact all of these guys in such a way that they would have all played great. But it would have helped. It would have helped to have him in the middle, setting some of those screens, maybe freeing up a couple of these guys to get some cleaner looks, protecting the rim, maybe being a little bit of a deterrent. He certainly would have helped. Amari Williams did not look good. He played 10 minutes, and then he didn't play again until garbage time. My main criticism of Amari is when he's trying to figure things out, or maybe he's making mistakes, he tends to retreat into a shell. He tends to kind of like get passive, and I want to see him be the energy guy. I want to see him with a little bit more fire. And that may not be who he is, but you need to pull that out of him somehow, where when he plays, with confidence, he can look really good. When he's not playing with confidence, or he's confused or making mistakes, and that's where he tends to slow down. He's not in the right spots. He's kind of like a little deer in the headlights. And that's where he gets into trouble. And it's going to be a growth thing. He's going to have to grow out of that. eventually as a player, but I would have liked to have seen him be a little bit more energetic. He also didn't have it. So I don't want to go crazy and be like, oh, excuse, like Jaylen Brown didn't have it, not a big deal. So, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White didn't have, not a big deal. Amari Williams, it is a big deal. Although he is a rookie and you're trying to make an impact and trying to earn minutes and trying to earn a standard contract and go from a two-way deal to a rookie minimum deal which is worth like $2+ million. I mean, you're looking for a big payday. So it's unfair. A lot of these things that we say when we evaluate guys and talk about how they should play, a lot of it is unfair. But, Amari Williams, you gotta play with more fire. You just got to play with more fire. Like Luka Garza went out and played really, really well. And he plays with fire all the time. He's I realize how that sounds. Like he's in the back in the locker room just playing with matches. No, he plays with an intensity all the time. But I want to see Amari have more of that. When you're confused, just go play hard. Stop thinking and looking around and being confused. Just go play hard. Just be in a place, be active, have your hands up, high hands, defend, and people will guide you. You'll get it figured out. So, tough night for Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, same thing. Both hit 5 shots. They combined 1 of 8 from 3. Peyton was 0 of 3. Derek was 1 of 5. Peyton was a minus 30. So, hey, like I said, it happens. I'm not really going to put too much stock into this. It's all right. It's all right. Sacramento Kings up next on Friday, a chance for redemption. I will be there. Post-game podcast after that. Hopefully from TD Garden. I would love to do a podcast from TD Garden again. I had to rush home and get the Jayson Tatum stuff out. All that. It was just wild. Wild night on a night where the Celtics had a bad night at the office. Hopefully this was a good night at the podcast. No, that doesn't work. I'm going to leave it in. Whatever it is, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts about all this stuff in the comment section on the YouTube page. Would love to have you there. Become an everydayer. Join me every Monday through Friday. Join the Everydayer Club. $5 a month, $50 for the year. So you get 2 months free. If you want to use the code DEADLINE between now and February 5th, you get a free month. It's LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. Now, please share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. Here on the Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day.